y'all. Good evening. Good evening. So we are back. Another episode of Pain Reality. Tonight we are going to talk about, for better or worse, in sickness and health. And just kind of had that conversation, explore that conversation. Because I guess my thought process surrounding that is when life happens, when it begins to hit you hard, like, are you still thinking about your marriage vows? Are you still thinking in sickness and health and all of those things that you said in your marriage vows? Like, are you still practicing that in your marriage when it get rough? Like sometimes it get rough. So kind of like, what are you doing? Are you remembering the vows you said, or like, do you take it serious? Do it mean something to you, or is it just tradition to get up there and say that? Or are we simply finding our own marriage vows to tailor to our specific relationship? And if that's what we're doing, does it have the same effect of the traditional marriage vows? Does that make sense? Like, if you write your own marriage vows, do you think it has the same effect as if we're saying the traditional marriage vows, like in sickness and health? You know what I
Um,
mean?
I think it do. Um, because it's if that's really how you feel, you're personalizing. You know what I'm saying? Like you making it personal to like all the stuff that you yourself like agree to. You know what I mean? Or like you're all in on whatever you say on your in your marriage vows. Like if you say in sickness and in health. You know what I mean? Like, or if you say some version of that, or if you say something, I don't even know. I don't even know. Like, I can't even give a real example of a vow. You know what I mean? But it's just basically you saying like, yeah, this is what I vow to do, and like, this is what I'm all in on. So I think it can have the same. Maybe it could be more impactful in some ways sometimes.
Like making up your own.
Yeah, yeah, because it's personal, and you feel like including all the other stuff in the traditional vows. This is also the stuff that I'm vowing to do.
So if you was to make up your own wedding vows, like, what's something that you would have said?
You can't ask me that.
I'm
13 years in the game.
I know I'm serious, because when you think about it, okay, you know how Pastor always, that one vow he switches to say for richer or richer instead of saying for richer or poor.
Yeah.
So if it was us 13 years ago, what's something that we could have switched, or we could have wrote ourselves, that would still have the same meaning as the traditional vows? Because I guess where my mind is, if I make my own vows, does that negate what the traditional vows has always been?
No, why would it negate those?
Because you're not vowing that in your marriage. We can come up with our own vows that ain't got nothing to do, like, for us, if our vow was something different, maybe we've had the conversation that if you go broke, I'm out, and you okay with that? You know what I mean?
You go put that in your vows?
That, well, I'm not saying put it in your vows, but maybe that's been a conversation that we've had about us getting married. Like,
Oh.
oh, that's a deal breaker for me. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So maybe that's why we chose to
Not say those vows?
Yeah, not say that.
Well, I mean, that makes sense, but that's why I said it depends on what somebody puts in there. You know what I mean? Like if you're omitting the traditional vows in the sense of, look, we're gonna do our own to make sure we're not saying all the, you know what I mean, all of those because I don't agree with that. Then you know what I mean, then it's something different. But if you're like, we're not saying the traditional vows, not because we're ignoring them or we don't believe in them, but because we want to add to those. You know what I'm saying? Because you can do your own vows and still be like, we agree to everything in the traditional vows, but we're going to use that time instead of saying those to say whatever it is. Yeah, whatever it is we want to say.
I guess that makes sense. But I mean, you didn't answer what I said, though.
I don't know how we would have switched it.
That's your answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either.
Because I really
That kind of
don't. Like,
disagree.
I just, I mean, when you think about it, like how like that takes some time to think about. You know what I mean? Like you're
Well, I mean,
asking
we've had
like,
13 years.
no, we haven't, because that hasn't been at the forefront of like, oh, I would have changed this or changed that.
I know, but if you think about it on the fly, like there could literally be something in your head that, oh yeah, I would have put that in my marriage vows.
Yeah, it could be. I mean,
That's my cue to move on because you're not answering.
yeah, that's the cue to move on right
All
now.
right.
I mean, I'm just saying, like that's a tough question. I
Okay,
mean,
so
I would want to know how other people would maybe change their vows, or what they might, you know what I mean, like, or what they might replace, not replace. I won't say replace,
well,
but
some people replace, some
they
people
do,
don't.
they do. But I didn't want to say replace, like put them in a situation where they feel like if I say it this way or I say this, that's replacing.
No, but
You
I
know what I
mean,
mean?
I
Like,
think the traditional vows is something somebody made up anyway.
well, yeah, of course.
So I mean, how they made it up based off of what they thought would be, something good.
I wonder
So
where vows did come from. Good research. Look it up.
yeah.
See where it actually originated.
So the one part that I had put in a title is in sickness and health,
Mm-hmm.
because I actually wanted to really kind of explore that, like what's some thought process around that, like because a lot of people run in that hard time, like especially when it comes to like illness in marriage and different stuff like that. A lot of people can't handle seeing their spouse sick.
Mm-hmm.
And what made me think about that is you dealing with what you've been dealing with.
Don't bring that up.
No, I'm serious. Like I really thought, I didn't think about it in the terms of, oh, I'm out because I can't deal with
No, I
this.
know that, but I'm just saying
But I thought
that
about
ain't
that,
nobody's
like,
business.
but I thought about that, like, how is that with other people when you're hit with something that's not understandable or you can't explain, and if the doctors ain't telling you nothing that makes sense to you, your mind running in a million different directions.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's deal breakers for people.
I mean, it is. I mean, and that is it's tough because it is a because realistically, if we think about it, I don't think anybody wants to be looked at in that light where like, oh well, if my spouse gets sick, they're the type of person that somebody feel like, yeah, that person will be out. You know what I mean? Or like that person wouldn't stick it out. But at the same time, it's like it's almost one of them things where like until you're in that situation, you know what I mean? Like it's hard to understand what somebody is it feels. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
because depending on what it is, everybody's not everybody ain't built for that.
Yeah, but okay, so that kind of brings me back to my original thought process to begin. Like, if this is a part of your marriage vows, typically most people say the traditional wedding vows. So if we're talking about in sickness and in health, God forbid, we ain't really want nobody to get sickly or nothing like that, but it happens where those are waters that you have to navigate. And I guess in my head, okay, let's just say even if that's not a part of your marriage vows, the possibility that one or the both of us may end up sick, and it don't even got to be terminal or anything like that, but just something that we gotta change how our life has typically gone. Like, why the mindset would be like, oh, I'm not built for that, so it's time for me to leave. Like, what for me, I guess I wonder, like, what's the point of even getting married? Because there's those. I understand that we go through marriage counseling, and we might have these conversations, but with life being life, wouldn't you think you got to consider that something to that effect could happen? Or do you think that should be a conversation that you have when you're having those conversations, or a conversation that you talk about in marriage counseling? You know
I
what I
mean, I
mean?
don't. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say don't have the conversation or have the conversation. Um, I mean, I just think that we. I mean, naturally we don't think about it. I don't think. You know
No,
what I'm
I
saying?
mean
Like
I agree.
I
Yeah.
just naturally think we don't look at, like, we don't go into situations, especially marriage, thinking the worst, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? If that person's relatively healthy when we get married or when we're dating, I don't think many people like really let it. It's like the question you asked, like how would I change vows, or what would I change? Like, I ain't been spending 13 years, like that doesn't pop in my head. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody's been pretty much healthy, like it doesn't pop in my head to think, man, can I handle it, or will it, you know what I mean? Will it be a deal breaker, or will it be a struggle to stay with this person if they got sick?
Hmm.
You know what I'm
But
like?
some people literally think that way though.
Yeah,
Like, oh, this is definitely a deal breaker for me if you get sick, or like I said, if you go broke. Because I came into marriage with the expectation that this is the lifestyle that I'm going to have, or I'm going to be accustomed to this lifestyle. And then when that expectation isn't met, that's a deal breaker.
right.
And some people see that as far as how their spouse's health may go. Like, oh, I came into it with you being healthy, you running races and playing every sport imaginable, and now you sitting on the couch and I gotta help you go to the bathroom. Like, sorry, but that's a deal breaker for me. So that's why I'm saying is like, so when life hits you, are we still adhering to our vows, or is it just part of the tradition to get up and say the vows without really putting any thought process behind that?
I mean, for some people it is. I mean, for some people it's, yeah, I agree to this until I don't. I
That's
mean, it
actually
just,
kind of sad.
I mean, it is, but that's realistic. Like, again, I don't think anybody goes into it thinking like, man, this person gets sick. Like, they people deal with it as they go, and again, like it's tough, but some people just don't feel like they're built for it. Like they just don't. So those are the people that be like, this a deal breaker for me.
Okay, so that brings me to the thought process of what we was going to discuss a couple weeks ago. Is when we think, wouldn't that go along the lines of what type of support are you offering, your spouse during marriage too, though?
I mean, of course. I mean, it does, because that's a different type of support. I mean, but again, like every marriage is completely different, no matter how they look, and everybody's mindset is different. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like because sometimes, because I think vows are so traditional. Like, I don't think that a lot of people, and I won't even say a lot, but I think that people don't look at what that really means.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so when that time does come, you don't revert back and think like, man, I vowed to be in this through thick and thin. You know what I'm saying? And like, be that person that could be there or would be there, whether they sick, they healthy, broke, money, whatever the case, because we're going, you know what I'm saying? We're going to grow through that. But I really don't think that everybody, like, I don't think everybody really thinks about that. I mean, I just don't. And then, like you said, sometimes it's more so like we going through the motions. That's just the traditional of what we say, and until it actually come time to be like, for better or for worse. Like, if this is my worst.
Right. So now we've always, we've had conversation, kind of around a whole bunch of different type of stuff. So when, let's just say one of these days I'm sitting here thinking like, man, I've hit my worst. Um, what do you think surrounding what my worst would be a deal breaker for you? Like, does those go together? Like, if I'm at my worst, and literally it could be, something different. Is it worth exploring the topic of, oh, but that's a deal breaker for me, even though, when we think for better or worse, I don't know, because I guess when I say it my vows, I literally thought, okay, this is the rest of my life.
Right.
So if the for the rest of my life I've said these vows, at some point we go through our highs and lows. It's just it's part of life anyway. So I think the way the vows are formulated is to you hit the highs and you also hit the lows.
Right.
Like, granted, you always want the highs, I get that part of it, but to totally and completely not think of your vows while saying them in that way, do we end up in counseling when some of those lows hit?
Yeah. I mean, but that's it. Like, I mean, it just, I mean, ending up in counseling isn't all bad anyway,
No, I don't
depending on
think
the
so.
situation. But I mean, I think that it's more so like, if that's your thought process and you're like more so, and it's more so going through the motions of, okay, this is, you know what I'm saying, this is just what we say. Like, I'm really not thinking about what I'm saying when I say sickness and health, you know what I'm saying, rich or poor. Like, I'm just saying, okay, this is what we say during the marriage, you know what I mean? Then I don't think that, okay, do we hit counseling when that hit? No, I think that's when you hit divorce or when you hit like separation, like for those individuals.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that's the route to take. I'm saying I think for those individuals, it's when you get to, I just can't do this. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't get to leaving or whatever the case, then you get to, okay, I'm stepping out. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I'm gonna go do me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay married because we married, but I'm gonna go do me because I can't handle, or like, you sick, so we ain't sexing. You know what I'm
Oh yeah,
saying?
that's actually a good point because that's typically what happens, honestly.
But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we ain't gonna get divorced because, and then a lot of times it's, how am I gonna look if I divorce you while you
Why
sick?
you see? Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so we ain't gonna
people
get
actually
divorced.
do that. Like,
Do
I've
what?
known people who do that.
Do what? Get divorced because you're sick?
Yes.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but everybody's not built for that.
So okay, I don't understand how how could you go in a marriage not thinking that in sickness and health may happen. Like,
Out of sight, out of mind.
but
I
like,
mean,
how
like, I
realistic
mean,
is that
it's
though?
it like, okay, when we talk about being sick, like, you'll ask me if I'm coughing or sneeze, you sick? No, I have a cold.
No,
You
you
see what I'm saying?
sick.
So, but you see what I'm
Okay,
saying?
so
Like
different. Okay,
that, like when
connotation
we
of
talk
it.
about through sickness and health, like, I can deal with a cold. Like, you need some soup.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But like, who really thinks like, okay, sick, like you're gonna be terminally ill, or
Right.
you're gonna be bedridden, or you're gonna be in a situation where I gotta change your diaper and the baby's diaper. You know what I'm saying? Like, every again, it sucks. Everybody's not built for that.
That's a
Like, it sounds terrible and it sucks, but at the end of the day, like, all marriages don't work out. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the harsh reality of it. And that's just one of the another thing that is a reason or can be a catalyst for a marriage not working out.
man. That's rough. Like, I don't I don't know. I'm always interested in I'm always interested in how people's thought process is surrounding their marriage. Um, like, that's always a thing for me. Like, I like the psyche of people. That's why I ask some of the questions that I ask sometimes, because I'll be like, man, how, like, why would somebody think like that? Like, what does that mean, or where did that even come from? So having this conversation is like, for me, I sit and think that most people should go into their marriage thinking about, not necessarily thinking about the bad stuff, but if you really sit and think about your vows, it's letting you know that there's going to be the highs and the lows. But to then just not be equipped to handle that when you said those vows, that's why I always say, like, some people are so immersed in getting married, having the wedding, the glitz and the glamour of saying, I don't even want to say saying I do, but just the glitz and the glamour of having a wedding, that a lot of times people fail to really think about marriage after that. Like, oh, it was so exciting. I was a what do they call it? A bridezilla for a year, or however long you choose to be engaged.
To be a
Oh,
bridezilla.
yeah, like I was that was exciting, and oh, saying yes to the dress. All of those things are so exciting. I never thought about what the man thinks about during the planning, but in any case, because when you think about it, when people have that conversation, they mention all of the things that the woman is doing.
Yeah, because you want to know what the man thinking. Let's just get to this day and get this over with.
So okay,
Because I got to deal
get
with
that.
bridezilla. I got to deal with
But also I get that the man when we had that conversation, you don't really think like the man ain't doing this. Like some men go, into all that planning and all that, but most men don't.
Right, like 1 out of 10.
Yeah, but when you have it could be maybe three. So when
Two.
you have four, when you
Two.
have the conversation that
Men, chime in. Go
when
ahead.
you
Two.
when you have the conversation that people aren't necessarily prepared for marriage as much as they've prepared for the wedding. You typically shine a light on all of the things the woman do to prepare for the wedding day. You know what I mean? Where we're talking about the dress and the venue and the food and all of those type of things, that's typically the woman and her team planning all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had that conversation and we say, oh, people prepared for the wedding day and not the actual marriage after that, where does that leave the man? Is the man prepared for the marriage? Or because we shining a light on all, I don't, what's the man's thoughts leading up to that day? Like you was the man that led up to that day. Like what was your thoughts during that time? Because I can shine a light on everything I did to plan, what I thought about. What did you think about?
How did we get on this stuff?
I mean, this is why we have pain reality conversations, because one topic flows into a whole bunch of other topics.
Oh,
I'm just saying. But it still flows in what we're talking about, though.
I mean, honestly, like for me, it's just like, okay, that's a big step. Like just making sure you ready. Like for me, making sure you ready, making sure, like, like you said, making sure you know what you're getting into, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't getting married to get divorced. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this is forever.
So, do you think when people have that mindset, I'm not getting married to get divorced, and then life happens, and I'm not equipped for that? Ain't that essentially the same thing? I got married to get divorced because I'm
No,
not built for that.
I don't think it's the same thing because I don't think it's the same thing because I don't like, again, I don't think anybody goes into a marriage thinking that person's going to get, my life is going to be turned upside down by this or by that. Like, I think more people think about the being broke part or the money part than they think about the person being sick part.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
So, just to piggyback, Warren said most men's aim is just to make sure that their soon-to-be wife is happy and drama is minimal with family around.
that'll preach, brother. No, that's for sure. That's for sure. Like, it just smoothly as possible. Smoothly as possible.
So, is that preparation? Like, okay, so perfect example with what Warren said. Is that your mindset the rest of your marriage then? You know what I mean?
In certain instances it can be, but like for me on a personal level, I think that men think more about the actual marriage. The actual being married, so to speak, like down the line, what's coming.
I can see that.
And like you said, women are thinking about, in my opinion, the wedding day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not in a negative way. It's just, I think, oh, I want it to be perfect. It got to be do. And the dude, like, look, long as you happy, and he thinking like, okay, all right, buy this house together, or you know what I'm saying, like 2.5 kids. You gonna have a white picket fence, or is the fence gonna be red, green? Like, okay, what? Okay,
You really think
we
men
gotta.
think that? Because
I think they do. I think. I mean, not necessarily like those specific things, but I think men more or less are like, just get us past this day.
mm-hmm.
Just get us past this day, and then let's start working on life. Let's start working on us. Like I think in general, because I'm like a I don't want to say analytical, but like more of an analytical thinker. You know what I'm saying? I think most men are. I think most men are like, look, you handle the details of the dress, the food, did it. All right, I'm allergic to this, so don't order none of that. But okay, whatever, as long as you happy, boom, boom, boom. Dude, like, man, all right, she got 2 kids, I got 2 kids. Okay, how this about to work with this, and all those type of things.
True, Jew. Which points to why stereotypically men are painted as having cold feet and second thoughts. You know, Warren, you might be pretty smart, my dude. You might be pretty smart. Because I guess that actually kind of makes sense. Because until I actually said it, I never actually thought about, so what do men think about up to that day? Like, what are their thoughts? Because typically they're not planning. Very interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
But no, I mean, I like, back to your point about getting married to get divorced. I don't look at it the same. If I don't look at it as a person saying, like, when I say, or when somebody says I'm not getting married to get divorced, I don't look at it as them not meaning that because something happens and they wind up getting divorced. I look at it as life happened. You know what I'm saying?
Recognize they couldn't do
Yeah,
it.
and they recognize they couldn't do it. And honestly, for me, I look at it like, as tough as that sounds, I would rather have that than somebody like stay with somebody and like stepping out on them. And you know what I mean? Like, you're staying because, well, it's going to look bad if I divorce this sick person, or you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, this car accident happened or whatever happened, and life is upside down now. And man, I'm ready to jump ship. How's everybody going to look at me?
Mm-hmm.
So let me just stay in this marriage and still do whatever I want to do, because you know what I'm saying? Because
for
you're,
the look of it.
yeah, for the look of it, because you're not going to be 100% in. So you're not only gonna lag in that area, you're gonna lag in other areas.
Mm-hmm.
You may think, oh well, I take care of home and I do this and I do this, but really you don't, because you ain't giving 100% to the marriage anyway.
Okay, so I'm gonna flip for a minute. Still kind of in the same vein, but so you know how I said women are so immersed with the planning of the wedding day.
Mm-hmm.
So their thought process is not always the marriage, but
Mm-hmm.
more of the wedding. But men through this process will probably think those thoughts of like marriage and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you said something when you said men, I'm taking care of house and home, so then I'm what your mind or your thought process somewhere else. So could it be that men have become so immersed in thinking about the marriage
Mm-hmm.
that then they're less invested after a while? Because I feel like long as I'm taking care of house and home, the kids taken care of, wife taken care of, bills paid, mortgage paid, car notes paid, and now it's time for me to have fun. Because you've never heard a lot of, so there's always conversation around I've done my duty as long as home is taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do outside of the home shouldn't matter because home is taken care of. My wife
Mm-hmm.
happy, kids happy, bills paid. We ain't out on the street type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you mean that in the sense of like them going stepping out,
Yeah,
or like,
well, stepping out or not. It don't necessarily even have to be from a cheating standpoint, but stepping out can mean a whole bunch of things. Like maybe I'm in a bar, or I'm gambling, or I'm doing all of these other
me
things that
time, yeah,
that takes me away from the marriage
right,
at home. You know what I mean?
yeah. But I'm struggling to understand your question.
So I guess my question is, if women are sitting here thinking about the wedding day, and so their thought process isn't about the marriage,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But based off of what you're saying is the man oh, long as she's happy up to the day and no drama, nothing's going on, oh, do plan however you want to plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for the day.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also thinking about, okay, how are we gonna make this work with
Mm-hmm.
2 keys, 2 cardinals, or whatever the case may be. So then now we're married, and let's just say we've been married 3, 5 years or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Is the man's thought process to still, as long as she's happy at home, because I paid the bills, the cardinal, we got a good house, we do all of this type of stuff, but now I'm over here because home is okay because I've thought
Mm-hmm.
the process has been thought about.
Right, right,
You
right.
know what I mean?
I mean, I would say that some guys probably think like that. Um, but it just depends. Like, is are my habits or are the things that I go out and do for myself detrimental to the marriage?
Well, in the instance of this question, yes. So I'm not talking about you going out playing basketball. I'm talking about, oh, well,
Gambling all your money away.
not necessarily just gambling the money away, but gambling, or you know doing things that, okay, maybe I should say doing things that could be detrimental to
Mm-hmm.
the marriage, because the longest
As long as everything
home,
taken care.
yeah.
I think that some people think like that. Some guys probably think like that, but I think that's an old fashioned way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's a thought process that, like, I don't necessarily want to say our forefathers, but like I think that's an old school way of thinking. You know what I mean?
No, I actually agree with
Like,
that.
hey, I'm the breadwinner, everything taken care of, bills taken care of. Woman, don't ask me no questions about where I'm going or what I'm doing.
I mean, unfortunately, even though I think that's an old
Some
school,
people, I know some
yeah.
people still think like that. Some people still have that mindset, but I don't think that's the majority.
Mm.
Put it that way. I think that guys still in the marriage are like, look, long as she happy, you know what I'm saying, I'm good. But again, I think that goes back to what we talked about a few weeks ago when we talked about picking your battles.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I, I might be sitting here thinking like, all right, that's not that's not good for us. But at the same time, is it something that's that drastic? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, so when I think about it, there's a very real difference when, and I hope I'm saying this correctly. There's a difference between spiritual marriage, like, and
mm-hmm.
then I don't know what the terminology, natural. I mean, because it's both the
I mean, they're
same, but
both
do
the
you,
same,
the
but I know what you're talking about. I know
okay.
what you're saying.
So I think it's like a very, like, those are differences in what I think would be acceptable in our
Mm-hmm.
marriage versus acceptable in a different marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that mindset goes along with that. Um, like the not just the mindset, but I guess because I mentioned like gambling and different
Right.
things like that. So um, in that case, I guess what would be, I don't know, that's kind of, I gotta think about this later. Maybe this would be a conversation for later as I think more on this, because yeah, I want to explore that a little bit. So Warren said, I think that means that would indicate that they are more invested, and that's when we was talking back about
Mm-hmm.
how the men think, focus on the long term, but it would lie in the eyes of each individual. Perception is reality ultimately. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Marriage is so multifaceted. Can you
For
say that?
sure.
Um, but yeah, because when you think about all of those things, like how marriage way, way, way back when was always seen as more of a partnership, honestly, when you think about it, for land, for all
Mm-hmm.
those type of things. um it's grown now to be love matches and all that
Yeah, but
type of stuff, but
I think people are getting kind of back to that a
to
little
that,
bit. Yeah,
yeah.
that partnership where it's like, because I mean, you'll look on YouTube or different places, and you'll have people like giving reasons that you marry. It's a business partnership.
And love is a plus.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, or like you grow to love that person, or like love isn't even that important, so to speak. It's, hey, you marrying somebody that hey, if we have kids, they're gonna be athletic. You know what I'm saying? Or okay, you marry somebody for the business of it. Like when we look at celebrity marriages and stuff like that, you look at some of those and you're like, okay. I mean, I don't, I ain't in the habit of questioning people's love for one another. You know what I'm saying? But then you look and you're like, all right, these two people might be married because it's a marriage of
Convenient.
status or convenience. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So like, I think in some ways we getting people are, I won't say we, but people are getting back to that. We're like, oh, we a power couple. You know what I'm saying? Or
Do
like,
you, so let me ask you this. Do you think when you have that
oh, disclaimer, but I think that's for people in the upper tax brackets.
who think partnership?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think the lower tax brackets be like, I love them. No,
so I don't necessarily think that like just a higher tax bracket because you could have people who have amazing business ideas who decide, oh, in five and literally it could be true. Like, well, in 5 years, my business net worth is gonna be blah blah blah.
mm-hmm,
And the other person say that too. So, oh, we let's make this a partnership
mm-hmm.
because ultimately in 5 years it helps both of our growth.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I
I
don't.
get you.
But okay, at the same time, what I was gonna say is, if you do you think people who view marriage as a partnership, not a love match, not a I want to spend the rest of my life with you because you give me butterflies and you give me stars and all this other type of stuff. Okay, if people aren't viewing marriage that way, okay, because most in our understanding is we made a love match.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going into marriage with a partnership, is there the expectation that we said these marriage vows with the intent of keeping those marriage vows?
Mm, I personally would say not so much as a person who goes in because of love. Um, because to me, like you said earlier, when you have that partnership and that's what you're going into a marriage for, that business aspect of that partnership of it, you have those conversations. You know what I'm saying? And realistically, shoot, those are the ones that I mean, I think you probably have contracts and stuff like that where you're
Hmm.
like, hey, if this party gets sick, that's grounds for divorce. You know what
Got
I'm
it.
saying?
Yeah.
Or if your business flops and you no longer are projected to make such and such, that's grounds for divorce. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's when it becomes the business of marriage, where it's like, okay, this is where we do sit down with lawyers and we sit down with mediators and we're like, okay, what warrants getting divorced? If we're in this for a partnership to grow our business or to grow our network, okay, these things are deal breakers. These are reasons. It's almost like that movie. Remember the movie? Can't remember the movie. Martin Lawrence and Danny DeVito in it. And she got married, and they got married, and Danny DeVito married into her family. Her family was really well off, and she was like scandal and disease. Scandal and disease, those was the grounds for divorce
Wow.
because he was sleeping with like Playboy models and stuff like that. And she was like scandal and disease, and he like, oh no, but like that type of thing. I think those type of marriages involve contracts and stuff like that. So I don't think that those marriages take the vows for what they are. You know what I mean? As much as, like I said, a spiritual marriage or a marriage between two people who are getting married because they love each other.
Hmm. So okay, with all the stuff that we've talked about,
What's a monolith? Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? My dude, knew you was gonna know it.
it's
Knew
got to
you
be a
was.
man thing. It's got to be a man
No, it's
thing.
just a good movie.
Okay,
Scandal and disease.
we'll have to watch it. Okay,
Oh
so
man,
my
that's a good movie.
so with all the stuff that we've talked about, what do you think is the missing key piece though?
What do you mean?
So I mean, we didn't discuss a whole bunch of different ideas that has hit my head. But I'll start. For me, I think the key piece that in some of the situations that we've talked about is the glue that's supposed to keep your marriage together. And that's God. So for me, my thought process is if God has given us hold on.
It's a big what?
Puzzle?
Puzzle? Oh, it is.
Yes. So what he just said, that comes back to God. From in my head. That
It do, but everybody who's getting married isn't looking at it like that.
no, I mean I get that part, but that's what I mean when I said what's the piece that's missing? Wouldn't the piece that's missing be God? Because in my thought process is if God is this piece right here, this big ball of the center of everything that we've made decisions on, shouldn't all those pieces lead back together? We got the love, we got the partnership when it comes to how we see our finances and all of those type of things. All of those little segues should just lead back to what the center is, and that center would be God.
They should, but they don't.
Well, no, I mean, I get that, but and kind of summing up our conversation that we've had surrounding marriage.
But it's like he said, like it all is based off of what got us to this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, was it God? Was it love? Or was it business opportunity? Was it the business of marriage? Was it, hey, you can introduce me to people in that circle. I'm trying to get this off the ground. I can introduce you to people in this circle. You trying to get this off the ground. Power couple. If that's the lead aspect, then you're gonna miss a lot of it, and then your deal breakers are gonna be things that people that got together because of love are gonna be like, wait, you getting a divorce because this person got polio? You know what I mean? Like, for real. You gonna think about that stuff. Like, wait, you getting a divorce because
Could you have come up with something different than polio?
I'm sorry. That's the first thing popped in my head. But you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, then that's when you're gonna look at it like, oh wait, that's a deal breaker. But because you said in sickness and in health. Now they're sick and you're walking away.
You said for richer or poor.
Yeah.
Although we say for richer or richer, but still. Mm-hmm. Exactly, Saeed. That's why a polio, like just a random disease we very rarely hear anything else
exactly.
About.
Rarely.
It's just
polio. Exactly.
Or gout.
Gout, yeah, gout. They put gout. Yep. Gout. Mm-hmm. Rickets, gout, all them.
Rickets? What's rickets?
I don't know.
Oh, I guess. So, I mean, I guess for me to sum it up, I would say the key piece that's missing in all these little scenarios, or some of these scenarios, I can't say all of them, but in some of these scenarios, I think that key piece that's missing is the foundation of God. Like, God being the center of your marriage is what keeps your marriage together, regardless. But I think if God is the center of your marriage, you can have all of those different segues.
I mean, you can, but again, it's if I'm getting married with God at the center of it, then I know what our partnership is. It ain't about, hey, we got married to further our business ventures. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just a byproduct of us being married, as opposed to like, we got married to further our business ventures. A byproduct of that is, hey, we really started to like and enjoy each other. So it really just, like you said, it's a matter of, okay, what's at the center of it? And then the byproducts come underneath that.
Yeah. Warren says, seriously, though, it comes down to the balancing act that we need to make it move the right way. Yeah. Marriage is definitely a balancing act. Like, definitely.
For sure.
We can explore that another day. But yeah, sure. I agree with that. I think how you balance it all is what ultimately is going to determine a lot. Like, how strong is it? Like, how did you balance even when you think for better or worse, for sickness and in sickness and in health, even when you have that conversation, or since that's kind of what drew this topic, depending on how you balance all that. you know, like even okay, so you were saying you know, some people are just not built for that. But I think depending on how you balance all of that out, even if your mind tells you you're not built for this, you technically could be built for this.
Of course you can.
So
Again, it depends on what's at the center of your marriage.
yeah,
You know, like because everybody has the propensity to be built for it. It's a matter of okay, where am I going to draw the strength to go through to
God at the
stay there?
center.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because yeah, every like I said, to me, 99% of people that are married gonna feel like if you ask them in a private conversation, oh yeah, if my spouse got sick, I would be cool. I would be cool. But when that time come, okay, if we got married because all right, both families is rich, that's gonna be tested.
Yeah.
If we got married because okay, you gonna help me network and grow this business, that's gonna be tested. Like it's gonna be tested anyway. But more so if again the center of that ain't God and love.
Yeah.
Now, if the center of that is God and love, yes, it's gonna be tested, but it's gonna be like, oh, we got this.
Yeah. God see us through.
Yeah, like we got this. We'll be all right. Yeah, we might need counseling, might need to talk to some people more often or whatever the case. But
So basically, I think we've determined that all roads lead back to God. Would you agree?
yeah,
All roads lead back to God.
except Copley Road. No, I was playing.
I just can't with you, man. So we are about to
You better wrap that gavel up, B. Hey, we need some wrap it up music. You gotta watch Chappelle.
so we're about to wrap it up. So what's your final thoughts? Like with all the stuff that we talked about, you gotta have something.
Do I?
Yes.
What was today's topic? Oh, yeah, don't take the vows for granted. Actually think about what they mean, what they say. And you know, like she said, like Tia said, you are built for it. You built for the tough times. No matter how tough they get. You know, that's about it.
The wrap it up box.
Yeah, you better wrap that gavel up, B. He was so mad. All right.
You really amuse yourself, don't
I
you?
do, man. These shows be hilarious. He gonna tell the judge. Oh man, all right.
Right,
That's
digression there. So I to wrap it up, I'm gonna just say it again. I think all roads lead back to God. I truly do. I think with all the different conversation pieces that we've had tonight surrounding a lot of topics, but still really thinking about marriage vows and different stuff like that. At the end of the day, I think you know a lot of that leads back to God being at the center of your marriage. I just feel like if you life is going to happen in marriage. It truly, truly is. Life is going to happen. But I just feel like if we have God at the center of our marriage, and not saying it won't be hard because we didn't hit some hard times in our marriage, but really learning how to navigate that and you know really making sure you praying in our wives group on Facebook. It was somebody posted. I think two people might have posted it today, talking about. It was this. It was. I guess they must be pastors or something like that. But the man asked the wife, um, like if like what's one thing you would change about me or something like that. And so her response to him was like really kind of eye opening because she said, I wouldn't change anything about you. Like if I'm praying, like, oh my God, I don't, he do, I need you to change, change, change. She said, that's not my prayer. So there's nothing I would change. And for lack of a better word, you know, I'm asking God to pretty much give me the capacity to handle who it is I married, or you know, be in tune with who it is that I've married. So the change ain't necessarily on you. The change is on me and my response to you and all of
Right.
those little things that that may have been in my head to ask God to change.
Right.
I don't want to change you because only God can change you. But what can happen is, you know, my perception, you know, how I look at it, how I view you. Um, at the end of the day, God make me the spouse that is a compliment to you.
Right.
You know, on both ends, even a husband praying that prayer. How can I compliment my spouse? Like, how can I do these things because this is the person that I've chosen to marry versus God, I need you to change this person, but change my perspective around it. Which I mean, I put a little more to what they were saying, but it all adds up to the same. Like really looking at our perspective of who our spouse is, and God equipped me to be the spouse I need to be for you.
Yeah.
So, but for me, all roads lead back to God. At the end of the day, all roads lead back to God. And if I could encourage somebody, thinking on, I'm gonna post that video to our TikTok too, because it was actually pretty good. Thinking at how that's a very good perspective to have when you're struggling in your marriage. Not so much God, I need you to change them, but change my perspective on how I'm dealing with the situation, or how can I compliment them. I think that's just really good advice for somebody struggling in their marriage, because it tends to lead to less pointing of fingers at that point. So
it's like the one saying, like, don't lighten the load or something like that, but strengthen my shoulders.
Yeah,
like
yeah. Maybe we'll talk about that one day.
What?
I don't know. I mean, something surrounding that. It sounded good. So yeah. All right, y'all. We do every other week now, because Jew has all these obligations to sit on other podcasts that takes him away from Pain Reality. But it's okay because the other podcast he sits on is very good. It's called Guys on the Couch. When do y'all go on?
Thursday.
Oh,
next Thursday is bi-weekly, just like this one.
What time on Thursdays?
8:00. Yeah, 8:00.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say you probably know that.
Yeah, it's 8:00. It's 8:00. 8:00.
That's good. So yeah, so we
are Guys on the
um,
Couch at 8:00.
He is in high demand, Warren. I actually agree with that.
I don't know about high demand. It's 8:00 on Thursdays, and the next Thursday.
Yeah, high demand sounds good.
Follow it on Facebook.
Yes, follow it on Facebook. Follow Pain Reality. So I will, break up each of our episodes that we do. It's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Google, it's probably on what's the other one, Spotify. So I always update those just for people who may come back later and watch it. Always open for questions, always open for topics. I have to warn y'all, like when y'all give us topics, we're discussing topics from the perspective of Pain Reality. That's why it's called Pain Reality, because we just got different perspectives on some stuff. And we talk about it all the time from the Pain Reality perspective. So see y'all in 2 weeks. Y'all have good nights, good weeks, good blessed weeks. And if you're struggling in your marriage, like I'm gonna post that on our TikTok. So if you don't follow us on TikTok, follow us on TikTok as well. Because I don't just post the stuff we talk about. I find different marriagey things. And I post those things just to keep people encouraged. Marriage is rough, y'all. But marriage is also rewarding. But I think that's something that we have to work at. Like we have to lose ourselves essentially to become one. And it's good, once we can do that. Once we're submitted to God. And I know it's always a great debate, submit. But I think you got to have a different perspective on what submission really means in marriage. And so I try to find good stuff to post just to keep people encouraged. So follow us on TikTok. Sometimes I put the same stuff on our Facebook page, but I just be posting funny stuff about Pain Reality because I like to laugh too. People tell me I'm serious all the time, but I actually gotta, I like to laugh, so I post funny stuff on our Facebook page, I think. Okay, he agrees with me. So 2 weeks, Wednesdays at 9, we will be back with another topic, with another something that we're going to talk about in the Pain Reality way. So y'all have a good, amazing night.
Appreciate y'all tuning in. Peace.
Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Have a great, amazing night. And we will see y'all in 2 weeks at 9 o'clock.
Peace.